hey, and do welcome on here. We are here to improve. So, if you are a single mother and you've got daughters, how do you teach your kids to have them skills of self-leadership? How do you teach them to be a bit different from you, right? Because we know apples don't fall far from the trees, but how can they be better in this world they live in today? How can they improve their leadership skills? And what you guys can learn together to improve and be is from understanding leadership. What is leadership? For a young girl, because she needs to learn how to lead herself, how to be a different person rather than fitting into the crowd of being like the next young girl, because she is the generation that's going to change the thing within your family tree. She is the person that's going to actually change and not just sit on the sideline and just not talk about change and not just do what everybody else is doing. And we need such people. And you've got a young girl that's going to do that. Is to understand how that leadership is influence, helping others and guiding others, right? And if she can sharpen those tools, if she can work on that, if she can really understand what that is, it will enhance and make her a better person. It will really change things around how even your relationship between the two of you, how she can become a better leader, how she can actually even lead you, because the older you get, it sort of reverses, doesn't it? You and your mother, you are now leading her, but if you haven't had those skills from when you were young, we tend to lead a little bit poor because we don't actually really understand what leadership is and how we can use it for so many things within our own lives. Because leading is about serving. And if this young lady, your daughter, or your niece, or whoever, a girl that's in your world, if she can understand that and know how to serve, we will have a generation of young girls that will change the world. Because what I tend to say is most of us will say, oh, we want equality, we want, things to be equal. Like with men, right? But we don't have the leadership skills. We don't know how to lead ourselves. So that makes it really, really difficult for that to come. So let's start. Let's start the movement of where we're going to change these young ladies to have self-leadership skills. Be the person that's going to bring that change. Be that person, because it always starts with you and I. And we as mothers, we have to show them what it is, right? Hang around a group of women. Again, it's all about community, it's all about networking. Hang around people who actually want change, because sometimes we shout and scream and hate. Not that I'm promoting that, but we get so angry with our daughters, but because we let that leadership, we let that doing of things has to be done in a certain way, we don't teach them. And they don't never get to know what leadership is and how to be a self-leader. So we're always falling behind. Here is one skill that we have to teach these young girls. Self-leadership, leading yourself first is the most important thing that you can do. So set goals. How are they supposed to get anywhere without goals that are set and definitive and they know what they have to do? Because you got to encourage them to write them down, to know what they are doing on a personal level and academically what they have to do for them to actually achieve what they want. Because as I said, what we do as parents, we just shout, shout, scream, scream, shout, shout, scream, scream, without really teaching anything. So even when you are teaching or trying to tell them that that's something that they're doing is wrong, you shout. You're shouting. And remember when you were a child yourself, not that long ago, only 5 years ago, right? When your mama was shouting at you, you were not listening, or you were being a little rebellious about how she was talking to you, because you were not like, no, you don't get to talk to me like that. You don't get to shout at me. So if you have these skills that you have, like her to develop, her teaching her, you will go a long way. Because when someone sees themselves as leaders, or they know that they have to learn to be a leader, they don't tend to do certain things at all, because they see themselves as a leader. And when you see yourself as a leader, you get to behave a certain way. So you are winning, mama. You are winning. And then the other thing is, teach them to be accountable, or be the accountable partner with them. Let them have a game of some sort. Let them be comfortable, right? Let them know that they can be accountable with their own actions. If they say they're going to do something and they don't fulfill it, they will feel a little bit guilty about it, because they know that they have to fulfill that. They know that to be a leader, you have to behave a certain way. So it's up to you to make sure that happens. It's up to you to put certain actions in place, that, like, if you don't do this, this is what it's going to happen. Like, hold them accountable to what? To their word. Hold them accountable to their word, and teach them to manage emotions, because I think that's a big one. Because when you're a teenager, you're growing up, you feel the world is on your shoulders. Your emotions are changing. You're changing from being a child to becoming a young lady, and then eventually a young woman, right? To an adult. And that transaction, because we are not told how to behave, how to be, that's where sometimes we lose our little girls. We lose them through that transaction, because you're changing. And if you don't have someone teaching you how to behave emotionally, sometimes you just get lost completely. You get lost completely, and coming back from that, if at all, it's like a mountain that you have to climb. And it's hard. And when you're trying to get grip of life, because now you're responsible for yourself, like you have to fold for yourself, it becomes harder and harder and harder, and you don't know to find your true self. So that's why we have to teach these kids to be emotionally intelligent, to manage their emotions, not to be fueled with anger, to act towards every little thing that's coming their way, for them to say, oh, I gotta be like, you're reacting. You don't want to react to everything. Sometimes you gotta take a step back and just see how things plays out. But if they don't know that, and they're not being told that, they won't know. Self-motivation. How do they motivate themselves to be doing things? How do they motivate themselves? Because again, we haven't been taught that. And it's difficult. It's really and truly difficult to change or motivate yourself into doing something that you should have done and you didn't do, because you're lacking that self-discipline, so you don't do it. Because you have to learn to push forward as a person. You got to learn to push forward even if things are hard. This is why I believe for most of us in adulthood, we find it difficult into when we come across something that is difficult, or stumble across something that's difficult in our lives. We don't know how to actually really behave. We don't know how to act. We don't know how to do that thing and change it and turn it around and turn it into our advantage, because we have a problem. We don't understand what it is, and that's a problem. So you can never teach someone young if you actually you don't know yourself how to deal with it. One thing that I'm always emphasizing, especially to my girls, growth mindset. That's a big one for me. You gotta grow mentally. You gotta grow. You gotta grow. You have to have that self-belief, because they are at that hockey stick level where you are coming from here, you're down here now, to go up that level of like you changing into becoming into that. Now you have to fight the world by yourself. That growth mindset, it's needed, and you need to have that to be able to handle what's coming your way. And if you're not mentally strong, if you're not mentally like educated, I don't mean educational like book smart, but even just street smart, if you don't know how to handle situations, it's difficult. You have to have a growth mindset to fight certain things that will come your way. You have to have a mindset that will improve you, that will make you think differently, because sometimes we get so stuck in how we think, and then we think that's right, and why you could be wrong. But when somebody else comes along, we've got a growth mindset, they tell you, or the guy, you say, look, what you're doing, I think this is this, because you are so open-minded and like you want to grow and you want to be better, you see things differently, you don't feel offended. But for most of us, we get so offended because you feel like somebody's looking down on you, somebody's talking down on you just because they suggested something. And that's a poor way of thinking. That's an absolutely poor way of thinking. Have a growth mindset. Teach them how to be empowered, teach them how to be better. That's how you grow a generation of young women that are going to change the world around us. It's going to be them. So it's your responsibility as a mother to take it up, give it to them, instead of, because we're struggling with kids. We say kids these days. Teach them to be different to the kids these days that we are all crying about. Teach them to be different. It's your responsibility as a mother.